The move brought packed arenas, scoring titles, MVP ballots, and playoff runs. It stripped depth, reshaped timelines, and left lingering questions about rings, loyalty, and whether pure scoring brilliance is enough. And then there's the echo. A silence that lingered for years until it was shattered by a championship scream reverberating across the league 12 years later. Legacies aren't always decided in the moment. Sometimes they're decided in the aftermath. Welcome to the Trade Rewind. Let's get into it.
I got an interesting one for you today. It's more modern, so you'll know it pretty quickly.
Nice.
So you'll like that. You know, you like having a good shooting percentage on your guesses. So this will be an easy one.
I feel like my guess is it's usually pretty quick. I've really for
Basketball's easier. Football's difficult.
Yeah.
There's so many players, so many,
positions.
yeah, it's
I start earlier.
yeah, you like to go into their, their grandfather's backstory.
I make you work for it.
But you know what? I did a little backstory too today.
There we go.
All right, here we go. So this guy was born in 1984, May 29th, in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Right near us. You know, his dad passed away when he was 2, and his mom moved them to Baltimore.
Love that already.
You know, he says that basketball became an escape and a structure that was a big part of his early life. By middle school, he was already known. He was already a big name. He was known for his advanced footwork and just a pure natural scorer. They said he had this almost quiet arrogance about him. You know, he wasn't loud, but you couldn't shake him. And he didn't talk much. He just got buckets. That's what he was known for. Kid just got buckets. Coaches have said that he wouldn't even dominate drills, but once the games would start, he would flip a switch. And what was interesting about him was that even as a kid, he played slow. Like, you couldn't speed him up. So already I'm giving you some hints.
It's funny, you coach. How often do you notice that difference
Between drills and games?
on both ends, right? Players who are great practice players, but not great game players, and players who are great game players, but not great practice players.
So it's so interesting. And I definitely see both of those. You know, you'll have guys who dominate in practice, and then the second a game comes, they're just like tight. You know, they're tighter, they're thinking, they're overthinking, they're passing up shots. And some people don't overcome that, you know?
Yeah.
Some people, they're just like that. They can't really do it in real games, but they're great in practice. You know, we call those warm-up players. Like, they look great in warm-ups.
Yeah.
And then you do have the guys who are, you know, sometimes take it easy in practice and chill a little bit, but then all of a sudden the game comes and they're a different guy. It's interesting. I see that a little bit less. I think the guys who are great, you know, are great in practice.
Yeah.
But you do have a couple of guys who kind of chill, and then, like, in games, you know, they're locked in.
It's funny. We had a guy in our team in high school, and if he's listening, maybe he'll text me. The coaches could not. It took them so long to adjust because he was knocked down in practice.
Yeah.
He would not miss a shot, but it was just in the game. He was shooting like 10% from 3, and at some point they were just like, I guess this is what we got.
Yeah, I've had that as a coach. I've even had that as a player with a teammate, where when a guy does so well in practice, it's very hard to, like, overlook that and be like, well, it's not happening in games, let's move on.
Yeah.
I see it now as a coach, like, because you're just like, we just got to build his confidence. Like, if he's confident, he'll do it in game.
Yeah.
But some people just, it's mentally, it's just different. First of all, your practice needs to be great. Like, if your practices are very physical and game 7 intensity, then maybe they'll be able to do it in games. So sometimes that's on the coach and on me. And sometimes guys just, you know, I'm not going to say aren't built for it, but they're not built for it. Sometimes that happens too.
Yeah. All
right. So this guy, we're getting ready to the point where you're going to immediately know who it is. In high school, he goes to Oak Hill Academy.
Yeah.
Powerhouse.
Yeah, this was my guess.
In Virginia. He led them in his senior year to a 32-1 record. He won National Player of the Year. Dominated elite competition. NBA scouts were saying that at 17, he was already, you know, playing in NBA pace. This guy wasn't the fastest or the highest jumper, but he was just a pure bucket.
It's funny. The second you said chill and footwork and just like scorer, I was like, all right, I got it. I know exactly who this is.
Do you want to say, or you want me to keep going?
Keep going. We'll let the people
You'll let it.
listen
Yeah.
a
Let's
little
see if you could stop, pause right here, and take your guess if you think you know it. And when we talk college, you'll immediately know it. By the end of high school, he was the top 3 recruit nationally, alongside one LeBron James.
Yep.
College, he spends 1 year at
Syracuse.
and he, has one of the best one and done seasons in the history of college basketball.
100%.
One of the best freshman seasons ever. They win the 2003 NCAA championship. He averaged 22 and 10, carried Syracuse to its first ever national championship, and was named the Final Four most outstanding player.
So good.
Now that we've already said who it is,
Well, we haven't officially, but
would you like to say? Because I'm going to say his name.
yeah, Carmelo Anthony.
It's Carmelo Anthony. This one hits close to home. I love Melo. I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Born in New York. I'm all about that Melo.
I didn't mind Melo as a Celtics fan because he only killed
He
us
couldn't beat you
once.
guys.
It was only one time.
Yeah. So Jim Boeheim said about him that, initially when Melo got to campus, he was, pushing like, Melo, fit in. This is what we do here. Fit in. Like, you got to run it the way we do it. And he said within weeks, he scrapped the idea and told the team, give him the ball. We'll figure the rest out. That's great. He gets drafted to the NBA, 3rd overall to the Denver Nuggets. LeBron was number 1. Do you know who number 2 was?
Darko
Milicic. Yeah.
Great draft class, no?
Great draft class. Dwayne Wade was 4, maybe?
Let's
So
see.
one of the best draft classes, Hall of Famers.
Yeah. LeBron 1, Darko 2, Melo 3. Do you know who was 4? It wasn't Wade.
Chris Paul?
No, a different Chris.
Who is it?
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh, right? That's what I was thinking. And then Wade's like
5. So
what
you
a
had the
great
whole-
top 5.
The whole Heat Big 3 in the
We're-
top 5 of that draft.
Yeah.
The truth is there was a drop off after that. Those 4 players, obviously. The Banana Boat.
Banana Boat squad right there. Bosh wasn't invited. Poor guy was part of the big 3 NBA champ. Couldn't get invited to the Banana Boat.
It's not right.
Yeah.
Too long. They didn't like the way it looked, probably.
I think the weight distribution would have been off on the Banana Boat. It's funny. Melo tells a story about that trip that he almost drowned and LeBron saved him.
Yeah.
That he was he couldn't swim and LeBron jumped in.
I cannot imagine. I can pass as a swimmer. I can get across a pool, but I would never be out there with no protection.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oof.
Okay, so Melo always believed he should have been number 1, and that fueled him for a long time.
Didn't fuel him too much.
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best careers of all time, best scorers of all time, one of the best, just never won.
Yeah. He won nothing, and he's definitely not better than LeBron.
It's interesting because he's a winner almost everywhere else, right? He's a winner in high school, winner in college, gold medalist, all-time winner for the USA team.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get the, that white whale, the NBA one.
And I think he says, when he retired, he basically said, I had a good career, I won at every level.
He won at every level. He was one of the all-time best scorers in terms of numbers. He just happened to be in the league when LeBron was there and couldn't get past him. And on the West, he had to go through Kobe. Like he
was in the league for a lot of years,
You can say the guy's an all-time great and just happened to be in the league when there were other all-time greats better than him. He's still an all-time great, just couldn't win. He's like Charles Barkley.
Of course, an all-time great, but I don't know. At some point, to me, there's no excuse to not win one. Right? You were in the league for what, like 20 years?
Well, that's true if you age well. I mean, certain players, they don't age like LeBron, who's 20th, 50th year and still doing stuff.
Right.
So that's part of it. His prime, though, was LeBron, Wade, Kobe. Like, it was, it was tough, a tough era to win.
It was tough, but other people were able to
Spurs, the Tim Duncan Spurs.
Like, Dirk broke through. He won one.
Won. And it took...
But how far did he even make it?
Conference finals.
He was stuck on Denver for a while. It's part of the issue.
Yeah, that's part of it, for sure. All right, so let's talk first about this rookie season. This has been a talking point that, Clutch Media has buried. And if we talk about this for too long, the black cars might show up and this might be deleted. So we'll see. But Melo's rookie year is one of the most underrated rookie years, and LeBron gets Rookie of the Year, but it's very questionable. In fact, Melo won Rookie of the Month every month that year, pretty much. Didn't win a Rookie of the Year. Before Melo gets there, the Nuggets win 17 games in the West. Melo arrives, they win 43 games and make the first playoffs in 8 years. He averaged 21 points per game as a rookie.
Yep.
Veterans quickly realize that the offense works better if you just clear out for the 19-year-old.
Yep.
He finished second in rookie year voting to LeBron, and it's something that if you look at the numbers and you actually look about winning, Melo has a real gripe there. I think LeBron was the name and the chosen one, and the league kind of just gave it to him. But I think that if you look back at it, should have been a lot closer than it was, and it's one of those things that it's just LeBron, so he was going to get it.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in other sports, you can't get, I mean, Miles Garrett, I guess, just got it this year, but it's hard to get these. We're looking at Jared Allen. He had 22 sacks that season and didn't win Defensive Player of the Year because they went 4-12 or whatever.
Right, but it's interesting. The only reward or award in all of sports that doesn't care about winning is specifically Rookie of the Year because you're on a crappy team. You're the first pick.
Right. But you should still, I can understand not.
Can you think of any Rookie of the Year that won because they were winning? I can't think of any.
No. But I mean, that whatever. We're making an argument that it should be considered. No?
I mean, also he was averaging 21 a game.
Especially in the NBA. The NBA is a league where you're able to make that difference with just one player.
True, but I also think his numbers, even without this, like the winning, his numbers matter. He was averaging 21 a game.
But to me, right, his numbers are slightly worse. Okay, LeBron's also averaging 21, more assists, more rebounds. So to me, what sets him apart, really, their numbers are basically even. What sets him apart, though,
winning
is that he won, and LeBron won 17 games. That's disgusting.
In a worse East, than the West. So that is something that Melo. I think he doesn't talk about it that much because can't go against the king.
Yeah,
but he's definitely mentioned it before, and it's something he's always been angry about. And if you really look at it, that's something that it's a real question.
Yeah, 100%.
This is where when you look back, it's easier to see that awards are just narrative based. As in, if you look back now, where we're not living in that moment where LeBron was the most hyped, rookie ever, or one of. It's very hard. When you look back now, you don't feel that moment. So it's easy to be like Melo should have gotten it, but
yeah, we see this with awards all the time, right?
Yeah,
what was
narrative matters.
JJ Watt
really matters.
Remember JJ Watt was posting he was trying to get TJ Watt the Defensive Player of the Year award over I don't remember who, but he was just
probably over Miles Garrett.
He kept I think it was Donald maybe. I don't know.
No,
he kept posting the stats back to back, whatever, and he was like, why are we not talking about TJ? Why are we not talking about TJ? But like you're saying, it's just if you're in the conversation or you're not in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you see it with the MVP, right? Stafford, even though I think he probably had a better season and it showed after the playoffs, but a lot of people were just like, well, he's older, it's his final chance, like let's give an MVP. Or Jokic and Shea or Embiid finally got one, and it was because they really pushed for it. Embiid really pushed for it, and all the players were pushing for Embiid. So the narrative became Embiid deserves one, so we got one.
And we know voter fatigue is the most real.
Voter fatigue is real, right? LeBron for sure could have gotten another one.
So it was, let's get this guy one.
Right.
Let's get Josh Allen one.
Yeah, the Derrick Rose MVP could have been LeBron's. There's a famous Steve Nash MVP that could have been Kobe's.
Everyone says the Steve Nash one.
There's a lot. It just shows that it's a narrative-based award. And when you're LeBron and the whole media is kind of around you and you're the story, even though you only win 17 games, they were on national TV all the time. Everyone wants to see the great one, the chosen one, LeBron.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he got MVP, but it is funny. Melo got every Rookie of the Month. LeBron didn't get one of them, I think. I think he got most, but didn't get one of them. And Melo didn't win. So
we'll hear from the people on social media because I'm going to put the stats side by side. We'll see what they say.
Yeah, maybe even do blind stat by stat, side by side, right?
Yeah.
Who would you take? LeBron did have more assists and rebounds, so that does matter. If you add in the record, I think 80% of people will pick Melo.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So Melo from 2004 to 2010. He becomes a perennial all-star, one of the most, feared ISO scorers in the NBA, a walking 25 a game, every night he could get 25. Everyone knew him for his, triple threat and his jab, and his ability to just score ISO. That was his game. The mid-range turnaround fadeaways and jab pull-ups, that was his game. People also forget he was an underrated athlete. He was posterizing people,
Yeah.
especially early in his career. Kobe once said when they asked him who is the hardest guy for him to guard, and he said Melo. He said because he could score from any angle, you can't speed him up, and he's a bull. The guy was really strong. I remember as a Knicks fan watching Melo give buckets to LeBron. Melo was a guy who he might have not, and this is where we'll have this conversation after about, and we kind of touched on it, the winning aspect. It could be Melo's style wasn't conducive to winning in the end,
Yeah.
but pure one-on-one, who could stop the guy?
Damn, could he score though?
Yeah, I mean his highlights and his form was picture perfect. Just a joy to watch.
Yeah, it's funny you say Kobe saying that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all. He looks like impossible to guard. His
Yeah.
bag so deep, everything shot,
And he also was like this so physical. Like he didn't let you off the hook by taking bad shots. He'd go through your chest and lay it in too.
yeah, he was a big guy.
Yeah, big boy. 2009 is the year they make the Western Conference Finals. They lose to the Lakers with Kobe and Phil Jackson. He averaged 27 points in that playoffs. Many around the Nuggets believe that was the year that, they would win, but, matchup issues and defensive lapses.
And being the Nuggets.
They couldn't overcome it. The team never got another shot as deep as that in the conference finals. As years passed, they had coaching changes, a lot of roster change, and there was growing tension. By 2010, Melo declined a contract extension. Privately, he wanted a bigger market, and even publicly, he was fixated on New York.
Interesting.
The front office knew that, if they waited, Melo would leave for nothing.
Right.
Because he was going to be a free agent. This led to the 2011 trade. And Melo is one of the first of these guys where now it's become a thing where you trade a year before, right? You don't let them get to free agency because you don't want to lose them for nothing.
Of course.
But there was a time where guys would get to the free agency and then resign. So he's one of the first of like we got to trade him a year before because, we don't want him. We got to trade him this deadline because if he gets to the off season, he's going to leave on his own and we get nothing.
Yeah.
So the years 2010, 2011, they're coming off a conference finals run. They're a playoff team, but they're sliding. Their roster became a little older, and Melo wouldn't commit. So Masai Ujiri, the Nuggets GM, was pragmatic. The ownership told him, don't lose this star for nothing. They lived through past stars leaving, and they didn't want to do it again.
And they're in a weird place, too, as a team.
Yeah.
Right? You got this guy, he's
your all-time leading scorer. He's your superstar, but you're not really going to win with him.
Right. He's been on the team for 7 years, 8 years. I guess he's still young, though. That's the thing in the NBA. He's still like 26 years old.
No, he was in his prime. The question was if he's going to leave, and it wasn't even if, he's going to leave. He won't commit to us. Do we want to get nothing or do we want to get something?
Right. I guess once you know he's leaving, that's it. End of story. You got to trade him.
And what's interesting is that you would think this would give other teams a ton of leverage, right, to buy low.
Yeah.
He's got to leave. You got to trade him because he's leaving.
Yeah.
And instead, we'll see something else happens. And a league exec says about Masai Ujiri that he was calm, patient, and unemotional.
Yeah.
And while New York was panicking, Denver slowed everything down and kept adding asks. They kept asking for more. So it's interesting. He was the one who actually should have been under pressure to make the trade. Yet, because of his composure and his style, he was able to, not show that and really get the most he could.
Right. He just decided, nah, I'm going to be chill here.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks were desperate but optimistic. Let's talk about where they were. They were having their first competitive season in about 10 years. Mike D'Antoni was the head coach, and they had revived their offense that was playing in the 90s before then with Amari Stoudemire. Amari was playing MVP level basketball, and that's not me exaggerating. Amari was playing elite ball through that year, and they started so well. The Garden was alive for the first time in years. There's a lot of excitement.
Right.
The one problem is everyone knew Melo wanted New York. And Knicks owner did not want to wait. Donnie Walsh, who was the team president, preferred, and I think rightly so, wait until free agency. Let the Nuggets hold him. We'll sign him in the offseason, and we'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Dolan did not want that. He was worried that, maybe they'll trade him somewhere else and he'll like it and stay,
Right.
which is a fair thought. And he also was haunted by losing LeBron the year before because they were in the race for LeBron. LeBron went to the Heat. He had a major fear of just being irrelevant because the Knicks were pretty irrelevant for a while. And there was a noise that the Nets were pushing to get Melo. And Melo's from Brooklyn. They had just moved to Brooklyn, so there was that noise as well.
Interesting. This is classic Knicks, no?
100%. Well, Denver's position was we'll trade him, but only in our terms. They used the Nets as a credible threat as leverage, and they waited until the final hours of the deadline. They really they had balls. What do you want to say? They put their nuts on the table. New York's fear was obviously Melo could be traded anywhere, or they wait and the Nets get him.
That's crazy. This is a deadline day trade. We're coming up at the deadline.
Yes.
He still hasn't been traded.
Yeah, Melo's camp quietly let it be known that if, traded to the Knicks, he would sign an extension immediately.
Right.
So they knew that, and, Denver couldn't offer that. So now the trade. February 22nd, 2011. The Knicks receive Carmelo Anthony, Chauncey Billups, Sheldon Williams, Anthony Carter, Ronaldo Bachman.
I assume Chauncey Billups is nothing at this point in his career.
He was older. Yeah. He was a vet. He was solid, but he was older. Definitely at that, twilight of his career.
Okay, so 5 players?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There was a third team involved, Minnesota, to absorb some contracts, but
Sure.
I'm not mentioning them because nothing very interesting was on their end. The Nuggets, so the Knicks were this team that had a bunch of young pieces and were playing well with Amari. It was Amari and a bunch of young players.
Right.
And the Knicks basically gave up all their youth. The Nuggets received Danilo Gallinari, who was young, and at that point, people thought he could be a star.
Yeah.
He ended up having a pretty good career. Wilson Chandler, another one who Knicks were very high on at the time, who kind of flamed out. Raymond Felton, who was their point guard and had this amazing connection with Amari.
Yeah.
Timothy Mozgov.
Throwback.
Yeah. Costa Koufis.
Okay.
Then a 2014 unprotected first-round pick, which this is very important because in the end, they traded that pick, which became Doug McDermott. They traded it for Gary Harris and Yusuf Nurkic.
Okay.
It was the beginning of their championship team.
Yeah.
And then in 2000, this is the biggest one, which is crazy. I had no clue about this. It's so interesting going back. I remember Melo, and it was, we gave up some young pieces. 2016 first round pick swap.
Okay.
The Knicks end up getting the 8th pick. Sorry, the Knicks end up getting the 7th pick. The Nuggets get the 8th pick. But because of the swap, they switch picks.
And they get Jamal Murray?
And the Nuggets get Jamal Murray with the 7th pick.
Wow. For a second there, I thought you were going to say Jokic.
No, Jokic is a second rounder.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been crazy.
Wait, so who did the Knicks take at 7? Kevin Knox?
2016. You want to pull that up?
The Knicks aren't on here. They traded it.
They traded away?
The Knicks had the 9th pick.
Oh, 7 and 9?
Yeah. With the swap, it was Jakob Poeltl.
Jakob Poeltl.
And it was part of the Bargnani trade.
Oh, remember the Knicks trade for Bargnani? That's an awful trade. We'll do that one day.
Steve Novak, Marcus.
But I knew it was nothing interesting. But either way, the Knicks. So the Knicks get the 9th pick. Nuggets get the 7th. They flip them. Nuggets get Jamal Murray, who's
huge.
Also part of their beginning of their championship building roster. All right, a little behind the scenes. Masai Ujiri repeatedly walked away from the talks. Repeatedly walked away.
Legend.
And each time New York came back offering slightly more. They never rushed. They waited until they had maximum leverage. One rival GM said Masai didn't blink. New York blinked.
This whole thing is being pushed by the owner, by Dolan?
By Dolan, yeah, exactly. So Donnie Walsh versus James Dolan. Walsh reportedly did not want to include Gallinari. He liked Gallinari a lot. Dolan overruled him, and this trade, league insiders believe that was the end of Walsh having any authority, because once Dolan overruled him, it kind of ended their relationship, and then, this was the beginning of the end of Donnie Walsh.
How do you even work like that?
This is why the Knicks have struggled for so long, if Dolan was always a little too involved.
Right. You have to just accept that just because you were good at building a business, or I don't know what Dolan's history is, but either that or he took over business from his dad, does not actually mean that you're good at running an NBA franchise. It's cool that you wanted to buy one, but there's probably, I mean, not probably, there are people who actually know what they're doing. You could hire them and trust them.
Yeah.
That'll get you further.
You say that, but imagine if you own a team. You don't want to be involved?
Nope.
Oh, come on. I'd be heavily involved in every trade.
You know Steve Bisciotti? You heard him on the mic?
No.
Steve Bisciotti's the Ravens owner. They say he shows up 1 to 2 times a year. The team sees him. He shows up. Hey, talks to the players. Hey, guys, anything you need? They're like, nah, we're good. All right, that's it. It's the only time they see him.
But
he shows up once.
I wonder if he's a big Ravens fan. Like, was he a big football fan before?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Big Ravens fan.
That's very impressive. Like, if I bought the Knicks, once this podcast blows up and we super rich and
we buy the Knicks.
Once we buy the Knicks, you don't think I'm pushing to trade for Wemby or Zion? Like, I'm making moves.
You think so? You're not going to be like...
I'll say this. I won't be like the Suns owners at Ishbia.
Yeah.
Ishbia came in and was like, go get Durant. I don't care what you give up. And they traded their whole future. So I wouldn't be like that where I'm like leverage everything. But I would think I'm smart enough to... I think I'd be a little like Jerry Jones. Like, I'd be the GM, basically.
Listen, when we buy the Knicks, how about this? Me and
you could be the owner. I'll be the GM.
For 3 years, we'll...
Hands off?
We'll not only hands off. We'll be completely hands off, and we'll say, you tell me what decision you would have made. And every time the GM makes a decision, you tell me, just between us. You say, all right,
and we'll keep score?
And then we'll see what happens.
And then we'll do a trade rewind episode.
Yeah, we'll come out, we'll say, listen, you did a terrible job, okay? You drafted all the worst players. We would have been screwed if we went your way. Let's stick with the professional.
I like that. Okay, that's our plan. That's what we'll do.
Anyways, back to Bisciotti for a quick second. At his press conference, he does a press conference once every 8 years. He just did a press conference because
every 8 years,
basically, because the Ravens hired a new coach. And he said in the press conference, he was just like, yeah, DaCosta he's gonna handle the coach search completely. He's in charge here. He's gonna figure out all the candidates, interview everyone. If he needs my help, he'll ask me for my help. If not, not. Completely hands off.
So I respect that. And that is the way an organization should be run. I want to be clear. That's the right way to do it. You shouldn't micromanage. And then, the GM actually has power and makes his decisions. And then you can reflect and decide if he deserves to keep his job.
Yeah, exactly.
My point was, I wouldn't be able to do it correct. I would have to be involved. Like if I was the Knicks owner, I would want to be involved in every move.
Yeah, but at some point, how many of these situations would you have to go through until you're like...
I have to fail like 3 or 4 of them before being like, fine, I'll take
Really that many?
Yes, like 3, because every time I'll be like, I could fix my former mistake by making this trade. By the way, this is why some teams have real problems, is that their owners are too involved.
Devastating. It's a good thing we're buying the Knicks together. Otherwise, we'd be screwed.
Yeah, well, we'll do 50-50. We'll have someone else be the like the third, we'll coin flip if we can't agree.
What's it called in baseball? Arbitration?
Arbitration. We'll do arbitration.
We'll have an arbitrator.
I think maybe we'll just have a podcast episode and let the people decide.
Yeah.
We'll let them vote in the chat.
Hey guys, we're deciding. Should we give up an extra first? Should we give up Jamal Murray in 5
That's
years?
By the way, we'll agree. No pick swaps and no trading first. All right, let's keep our picks.
Yeah. Right. Well, whatever. If you're not doing stupid crap, then you'll be fine.
You know what we would do? I'm not saying we would do this. What I would do some of the Clippers owner shenanigans. I'd get someone to pay a guy through a back channel, planting trees. We're like, Melo, listen, we'll give you $20 million a year, but you're also gonna get $30 million a year for some fake company.
You can also start a podcast. We'll pay you $20 million to be part of Grundove Media.
Exactly. We'll really hook it up, and it will be in a total legal, legit way.
It's fine. Only Pablo Torre will find out, and literally no one will care.
And maybe we'll pay him under the table too. Keep it quiet.
It's totally fine.
Did you see that I was freaking out because he tweeted like, might be time to look into Jalen Brunson's to the Knicks deal. And I was like, please, no.
No.
Look at other people. Don't look at us.
He's got something. It's coming.
I don't think so. It was months ago he said that. And I think Brunson's just a genuinely good dude who took less for the team.
Yeah. Well,
but
we'll find out.
It
all comes out eventually. And then, whatever, it doesn't matter.
All right, let's talk the immediate aftermath of the trade. So the trade happens.
I mean, before we get to that, sorry, just the concept of, what are you trying to do when you're literally moving a third of your team at the trade deadline.
So it's so interesting. I'm gonna give you some insight on 13-year-old me as a massive, massive Knicks fan.
Yeah.
When I found out about this trade, I remember being pretty angry, and I wanted Melo so badly. But when I saw the amount that we gave up, I didn't think it equaled the amount we're getting. As in, especially when we could have waited till the off season and then got him for free.
Yeah, and also you blow up the entire team and all the chemistry.
So basically, what they were saying is we're gonna have Melo and Amari, and we'll build around them.
But you're basically
They
giving
blew
up
up that current team, which I thought was so bad because that current team was playing this beautiful brand of basketball and they had great chemistry, and there were these young guys happened to be, when you look back now, like Gallinari became a good player, but Wilson Chandler didn't really. Raymond Felton, that was kind of the end of him. So in the end, it's not like the Knicks, gave away these guys who became superstars, but they did give away their depth, and that really hurt them later in the year when they had no depth.
Yeah, my reaction
Right now,
thinking back on
yes.
it is if you're giving up a third of your team, you're punting on the entire season. And like you're saying, you had an opportunity to sign this guy. You could have kept the entire team together.
So I will play devil's advocate, even though I agree with you. The devil's advocate is that NBA is not like that. The NBA is like, one guy could change a whole team.
I know, but I don't think we've seen that happen at the trade deadline. You need time. If you're doing it, there's 30 games left to the season. You're not going to have enough time. You blew up. I'm saying if you get one player.
That's true. But that move was not a win now move. It wasn't win right now. It was win over the next 5 years move.
Interesting. Okay, fine. Anyways, into the reactions.
Okay, so, in New York, there was an immediate celebration.
Not by you, though.
I was happy we got Melo. I wasn't happy with how much we gave up. I do think, by the way, if specifically Gallinari, if he wasn't in the trade, I would have been a lot happier. I liked Gallinari. Anyway, trade happens. People really thought Wilson Chandler would become something. I wasn't so bought in on him, so I wasn't like so disappointed we got rid of him. They also, I think, either way, the trade happens. New York's ecstatic. We have a superstar. It's Melo. I'm coming home. That opening night that he was there was, it's ingrained in my memory. I'll never forget. They play I'm Coming Home before he gets out there. They play a whole tribute to him.
Awesome.
It was a very special night. And what Dolan does say, and he's right, is that they won the moment. Or Dolan wanted to make them relevant.
Yeah.
And he did with that trade. The Nuggets, on the other hand, they had this calm. They were very quiet. They did no press conference theatrics like the Knicks did. They just believed deep down, like they believed that we created space for a rebuild, and this in the long run is a better move.
Right.
Which you could say it was.
You have an aging roster. You have a superstar who you're not going to be able to get anything for. So fine, you move him now. You get something. You figure it out down the road.
Yeah. So the Melo era begins. All of a sudden, New York gets some relevance. MSG became popping again. National TV games returned. The Knicks make the playoffs for the first time since 2004. Players around the league said, real basketball's back in MSG. So they did really get something. Over the next few years, Melo had some of his best seasons of his career. 2012, 2013, he's the NBA scoring champ and third in MVP voting. The Knicks go 54-28. And they built the whole roster around spacing and ISOs for Melo, basically.
Right.
They say that year, 2012-13, teammates say he was obsessed with that season. He was obsessed with the work. His diet, his film, his conditioning. He knew this was their chance.
Yeah.
2014, he had a great moment. He had 62 against the Bobcats. And at MSG, one of the Bobcats assistants said, "We ran out of coverages. We ran out of ideas. We tried everything. We couldn't stop him."
That's great.
Their three big playoff runs. They lost to Boston in 2011. 2012, they lose to LeBron in 6 to the Heat. In 2013, they finally get over the hump and beat Boston. And then they lose to a young Indiana team with Paul George and Roy Hibbert, who ended up losing to the Heat, who made the finals. So
they never make it out of the second round.
Correct. But they did face the Heat in the second round. So they faced a team that made the finals, but they took them to 6, but they never made it out. And then that team was the best team they had of that era. 2014, Melo chooses to resign in loyalty. He chooses to resign with the Knicks over chasing a ring elsewhere.
Bad call.
In the end, right, they kind of fall apart the next 3 years, and he waived his no trade clause and the Knicks traded him. It's interesting because they had some great, 3-4 years, but then it really declined at the end. And it's a little bittersweet, the ending, because he was like the loyal one. I'm going to stay and trust you guys to figure it out around me. And they did not figure it out around him. And then in the end, they kind of got rid of him and made it like it was his fault. So that was it was definitely bittersweet the way it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with the Nuggets. So the Nuggets, right, they get Gallinari, who became like their leading scorer. In the end, he's had a pretty good career. Like, he's been around and he's always been solid.
Yeah.
Wilson Chandler, didn't really do much. He was a glue guy for a little bit and played some playoff minutes.
Was Wilson Chandler or Tyson Chandler?
Wilson Chandler.
Okay.
Felton had a short stint in Denver and then returned to the Knicks. Mozgov became a rotation big and then later won a championship with LeBron on the Cavs. Kufis had a long career but was always a backup. The picks is really where it came. The picks, they got Jamal Murray. They got Yusuf Nurkic. Like, that was the beginning of their rebuild.
Yeah.
From the picks. And the Knicks, outside of Melo, Billups was like, he played a little bit, and then after the lockout, they were done with him. Ronaldo Balkin, Sheldon Williams, Anthony, none of those guys did anything. When you look back on the big picture, the Knicks got what they wanted. They wanted a true superstar. They wanted the noise. They wanted the moment. And they got that. What they sacrificed was depth and a longer runway.
And part of the problem is that was what they wanted, to me.
Yeah.
I wish they yeah. MSG's awesome. It's popping. Dolan makes disgusting amounts of money every year. The tickets are disgustingly priced. No one can afford to go to anything there.
World's most famous arena.
Yeah, for sure. And they lost.
Yeah.
They never made it out of the second round of the playoffs. But
so the ultimate goal, I agree, but it's interesting. Was the goal to win it all? Or was the goal to be relevant again? That's how you have to remember. They were so bad from 2004 to 2010 that just making the playoffs was a win for them. Like, they were awful.
Yeah.
And, I remember the Eddie Curry years and all these years where we stunk. So, and if you look back right now, I mean, obviously we can say, and I'll always say, and I was saying it at the time as a young 13-year-old, I was saying, a 13, 14, wait till the offseason. Trade it, sign him as a free agent. You get to keep your youth and you get him.
Yeah.
So I do believe, I'll always believe that was a mistake. But let's say you're saying if they don't get that trade, they don't get him at all. In the long run, it's hard to say who won that trade because, and I would lean the Knicks because the Nuggets didn't really get much.
Do we know if there was another trade on the table?
The Nets were pushing. But we'll never know if they would have made a trade or they would. But here's what I'll say: the closer it got to deadline, the trade was done a few hours before deadline. The Nuggets might have gotten, pretty. What's the word? They would have felt the pressure and had to make a trade.
Right. You're an hour before the deadline. The Knicks are like, all right, we're out. We can't meet that. We're not going to do it. Yeah, it's probably safe to assume this taking the other deal.
This is where James Dolan kills the Knicks, is that he forced Donnie Walsh to get in there and say, we'll do it. And Donnie, with the Gallinari and a lot of these additions, that maybe if Walsh is like, hey, we're out, just like the Nuggets did to him a few times, maybe they would have, revised their offer.
Right.
But Dolan wanted it so bad, and he wanted it right now. That's the big thing, is he didn't want to wait till the offseason, and he wanted instant gratification instead of delayed. He didn't want to wait for it.
Which is funny, though, because, was the Garden not already popping from that season?
It was just starting to, and New York had basketball that was like, they're playing good basketball. But it wasn't the same that when Melo came. When Melo came, it was different. Yeah, because you had belief with Melo that, we could actually do something. With Amari and those young guys, it was like, we could be a scrappy 8 seed,
Yeah. I'm going to be on the other end of this one. I think that it was a bad trade for the Knicks to me.
So I don't think you're wrong. And I think if you look back at it and me looking back without any nostalgia or any bias, I would probably say in the long run, right, the Nuggets, they got rid of him and they got to rebuild and
there was no other option.
Right. But when did they win their championship? 2020?
Yeah, whenever.
So we're talking about 9 years later.
Yeah, but it was, Jamal Murray is a massive piece that they got for someone who they were not going to be able to re-sign. Yeah, the only, to me, the knock against the Nuggets is that they never figured it out with Melo. right? Because if you figured out you were a competitive team, would he have wanted to leave? He probably would have signed a
It's not for lack of trying. I mean, people forget Melo played with Allen Iverson. The Nuggets went after Allen Iverson.
Yeah, J.R. Smith.
So they had pieces. It's tough because this was in the era of the small market team. People didn't want to go play there.
Yeah.
It's a little different now where the money's so big and social media everywhere's kind of a big market a little bit. You still have it where people want to go to Miami more than they want to go to Utah. But you can go to Denver and be okay with that now, I think.
There's some people, but there are people who won't.
There's some people who still won't. So I think
LeBron.
that was part of it, is that like they had like Melo and this whole team, like, let's get a star with them, and they couldn't get that star.
Yeah.
And even, by the way, the Knicks were not a destination at that point. Players didn't want to go there in free agency. That's part of why Dolan pushed for it, is like Melo wants to come home, he says, but you're talking about a guy who, as a free agent, who knows who's going after him.
Yeah.
And now you're New York, who hasn't done anything in years, and you're going to convince a superstar to sign with you. And he had some PTSD from LeBron, kind of playing them a little bit. LeBron like acting like he might go there and then not going there.
Right.
But overall, I agree with you completely. I think James Dolan, when you look back at this story and a lot, and this is a continued story in Knicks history, is Dolan tampering too much and getting involved too much, and then forcing moves like the Bargnani move, and it hurts them in the long run. And that's why you're so right. Owners need to like take a step back. At the same time, Melo gave us, as Knicks fans, countless memories. And we were the best we've been in a long time.
Yeah, I hear it. Let's move into the grades.
I'm very low on this scale, like a 2. I think both teams kind of got what they needed. My only big thing is they shouldn't have made the trade because they should have waited. But you never know if that really would have happened. So I don't think the Nuggets ripped the Knicks off.
Yeah.
I don't think the Knicks ripped the Nuggets off. I'll tell you this. If Wilson Chandler and Gallinari and those guys turned into the players the Knicks thought they were going to be, then maybe it would have been this major like ripoff. But those guys didn't really pan out so much.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one for me where we're just
So what I say, I
different
said a 2.
places.
I'm at
You
a
said
2.
a 2.
Yeah.
But you're at a 2 flat. I think it's bad. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's bad. I'm looking at some other ones. It's not the worst thing ever, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna put it at a 6.8
Wow. We are really all over the board here.
because this
Is
is
this
my
your
flip.
anti-Knicks and anti-MSG bias coming out?
No, I actually love MSG. It's awesome place.
If the hot dogs were $3, would you have given this vote?
I'm never buying food at MSG, but no, it's just, to me, there's so many other factors. One is, I mean, I think we're just right. For you, you're going to grade this on, there's always going to be nostalgia that comes in, and the Knicks at least being relevant to you. That's going to be important.
And being in the playoffs, that was a big deal for a Knicks fan, for them to even be in the playoffs.
Right.
Imagine right now you could tell me as a Jets fan that we could be in the playoffs for the next 3 years. Are you kidding me? I would trade our whole roster.
Right. Exactly. So we're going to look at these things differently. I'm like, what did you do? You did nothing. You had 3 playoff appearances. You lost in the first round twice, and you lost in the second round.
But you're a little bit of an absolutist where like it's a winner or not. Like there's only one winner every year. Like
I know, but it's not like they weren't
the Nuggets
making
didn't
good
win
runs.
either. It's not like the Nuggets were winning.
The Nuggets ultimately got an all-star who was the second best player on a championship.
First of all, it was his first time being all-star this year, all right? Jamal Murray's a one-time all-star.
Oh.
And 15 years later, he was an all-star. And they drafted him 5 years after this. I'm not willing to be like, the reason why the Knicks lose the trade is because Jamal Murray was the first piece of a team that won 9 years later. I don't know about that.
Well, because you gave up a bunch of pieces.
But none of them panned out. None of them panned out.
The other thing that we have to grade it on, to me, like we've been talking about, is the alternative wasn't necessarily that you didn't get him. There was a reality where you got him for free, and instead you sold everything.
So that's where you're right, and I completely agree with you. The fact that they could have gotten him in the offseason, not guaranteed because they might have traded him away to someone else, but he wanted to be there. And that's why, as a 13-year-old who knew nothing, I was like, come on, like, let's wait till the offseason. So I agree with you there. But my biggest point is that the players, they got a ton of players, right? They got a haul. But those guys didn't really pan out.
I know, but it's, like I said, there's a couple criteria, but one of them is you gave them a bunch of shots, right? There was opportunity for any of them to pan out.
Only one pick and one swap, so not a lot of picks.
Yeah,
They gave a bunch of prospects, and none of them really panned out.
but who were the picks? It was Gary Harris also?
They traded a pick, and it became Gary Harris and Yusuf Nurkic.
Right, like, whatever. Like I said, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just that, to me, the Nuggets really gave up nothing, right? They knew they were gonna lose this guy one way or the other.
Mhm.
The Knicks potentially could have signed him. I'm not saying it's a 10. I think
Let me ask
it's
you
a
this.
bad trade.
Let me ask you this. If right now you could say the trade would not have had the Knicks would not have gotten Melo if he's a free agent, let's say. If we make that stipulation right now, are you making that trade?
If the Knicks would not have gotten him in
If they know they're not getting him in free agency, and right now looking back at where both teams did with the players that were involved in the trade, are you making that trade?
I don't know, it's still hard to say because
Right. I mean, who'd the Nuggets get? They didn't get anyone who did anything.
you're saying just from like, we know what happened with everyone.
Yes.
We're not in the moment. We know what
We're
happened with
right now
everyone.
looking back and saying Gallinari, Wilson Chandler, all those guys, Raymond Felton. Are you going back and making a trade? I am.
I'm making the trade, but not because of the trade, but because the Knicks have been able to be successful in recent seasons and they didn't need Jamal Murray. You get what I'm saying? If the Knicks were terrible right now and we were like, if only they had a good player, if only they had the beginning of something, that would be a different story.
I don't know, because you can say for a while the Knicks didn't have a point guard, right? Brunson came in 2023. Like, the Knicks needed a point guard forever. So it could be Brunson. Jamal Murray could have been good for them. My point is that the players that they gave the Nuggets ended up kind of all fizzling out. So if they had turned out to be these great players, well, now you have this whole haul for Melo that you could have gotten anyway. But the thing is that those guys didn't pan out. And now those guys who you might have had to pay in a year, who Wilson Chandler, they were very high on it, going, all right, all of a sudden you're paying all these guys and now you're stuck with them and they didn't do so well in the NBA. So
listen, it is what it is. We're going to disagree on this.
I think you're right. I think you were right about points. You're absolutely right. And I agree with you. They should wait until they got on free agency, and they gave up too much.
And it was what? It was 7 seasons of Melo, and you made the playoffs 3 times, and you never made it out.
But hindsight is 2020, and those guys didn't pan out. And with those guys, they would have been worse, is my thought.
Right. If Jamal Murray wasn't,
insanity never would have happened if they kept all those guys. Right? That 1 week would have never happened.
If Jamal Murray wasn't part of this trade, I would have it at like you have, at like a 2. But you gave up. I mean, whatever, all-star, not all-star, has been the second best player on a championship caliber team for seasons now. A team that has made multiple runs. He's been their second best player.
That's fair, but that's 9 years later.
Yeah, well, and traded a pick that way.
Right? No, I know. But also, I'm saying the Knicks got Melo, who's a perennial all-star and one of the best players in the league.
Yeah,
you're taking that away from them. They not only, I know they didn't win, but they got, for a bunch of scraps, they got an all-star.
Yeah, a bunch of scraps
and a pick
and a couple.
And by the way, if you told me 2016 Jamal Murray, I'm still making that trade. You got Carmelo Anthony, number 3 in MVP voting. He was one of the best players in the world at that time.
Yeah, because to you cared about just the Knicks
just succeeding a little bit,
entertaining. To me, I care about the Knicks actually winning.
So, and that's where we differ. We're like, certain franchises, we're not going to get the end all be all, because the Knicks they might never win. This year they're going to win, actually. So
listen, I'm a big Orioles fan. If this was like Shohei coming to the Orioles for the Orioles to be bad, yeah, I'd probably be with you. You know, just to watch greatness.
Right. Okay. Shohei is obviously a different level than Melo, but you did get you got a Hall of Famer, you got a scoring champ in 2012, 3-time whatever he is, 6-time All-Star on the Knicks, like whatever he was, 3 or 4. The guy was really, really good on the Knicks.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get over the hump. And the hump was LeBron James and the Big 3.
Listen, I hear it. There's always a hump.
Was anyone getting over the hump those years?
There's always someone. There's always an excuse to not. Yeah. You know who was? Dirk.
It's like, you know what? It's like the Rockets trading for Chris Paul during the Warriors run. And it got them to Game 7 versus the Warriors. They didn't win. And are you going to look back and be like, well, they never won? It's like they were the closest to beating them.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'll have to analyze that a little bit more.
We'll bring up that trade in the future thing. All I'm saying is that the Knicks kind of got what they were looking for in a big time player and an all-star and playoff series. And by the way, they played the Heat and it was an interesting series. It wasn't like they were like swept. It
Yes.
just happened to be the Heat had Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh.
100%. I am penalizing the Knicks for part of this trade being for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and you're right about that. James Dolan, really bad owner sometimes. So I'm with you.
Whatever. I understand, but I don't hear the like, oh, they played against. Yeah, there's always a good team. There's always someone
I will tell
to
you,
play against.
until Brunson recently, and other Knicks fans might not feel this way yet. I do already. Like Jalen Brunson's the best Knick of my lifetime.
Yeah.
But until recently, it was Melo.
Yeah.
Like he was the best Knick I've ever been like a fan of. So
Like I said, it's gonna be different for you. I think we're gonna do a little bit of, since this is, we're only recording on 4 days before this comes out. We're gonna do a little bit on current events. The NBA just announced that tanking, there's going to be an anti-tanking rule. We don't know what it is. It says tanking and also load management is going to be a part of this. Load management is when you don't play your good players because you want them to get rest at various points throughout the season. NBA hates it because fans buy tickets to games to watch good players play and then they don't play.
and their big TV rights deals, they'll have, from September they scheduled, on February 3rd,
Right. We thought we were
prime time TNT, Jokic versus Shea on TV, and then they're both sitting out that night.
Right. They're both sitting out and also 5 other players. So the NBA is trying to figure out a way to get teams to stop tanking because they haven't been able to successfully do it yet. And what we've seen over the last couple of weeks is great players being shut down for seemingly no reason, right? I think Zubac was traded and he had played 15 of the last 16 games. He gets traded all of a sudden. Oh, he's out for the year. We saw Jaren Jackson Jr. get
traded to again.
Teams that are tanking. I forget.
Jaren Jackson goes to Utah. They shut him down.
We saw the Wizards shut down Trae Young and Anthony Davis. So teams are trying to lose intentionally, and the NBA is trying to figure out a way around this. A very interesting article I read from ESPN, I don't remember who wrote it, is their theory. What you do is losses count as losses for your record up until the All-Star break. And after the All-Star break,
you can pick if it counts as a win or a loss.
No, you don't get to choose. Your wins count as losses.
Mm.
As far as the draft lottery is. So, for example, let's say there's 82 games. Let's say the first 60 are before the All-Star break. If you lose 50 games before the All-Star break, your record is 10-50. Okay? Now, after the All-Star break, if you lose the next 22 games, it's as if you went 32-50. If you win those games, it's as if you went 10-72. They're basically incentivizing bad teams over the end of the season to compete. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I mean, thoughts on that, thoughts on in general, how to fix this, if to fix it. Do you care?
We make two points. First of all, outside of teams shutting people down, the real reason this has come up is because the Jazz are doing it in such an obvious way where they play Markkanen for 3 quarters and then sit him for the 4th. They've been playing guys and they'll be up 8 going into the 4th, and then they'll sit the starters and lose. So that was a big reason they're blatantly doing it. They just got fined a lot of money. So this is why this discussion has come up again. In terms of that suggestion and solution, I hate it. Because let me ask you this. Let's say there's a Warriors team where Klay's out that year or Steph gets hurt and they're losing a lot in the regular, early in the season. Then All-Star break. Okay, now our guys are back, and now our wins count as losses, so we're better than a bunch of these teams. We'll win a bunch of games so we get the first pick next year. Like, I don't want that the better teams are getting the picks. I want that the worst team gets the picks.
The worst teams will still get the picks in this scenario.
No, they won't, because teams will be winning.
No, because it's the beginning of the season is weighted. So if
let's say you stink for the first until All-Star break, you had guys injured, and now they
stink.
You would guys, your best player's been out all year.
Okay, sure.
And now you bring him back post All-Star break to win games, so you get the number 1 pick.
But the alternative is just that they won't bring them back.
So let me give you my solution.
Sure.
All right, which I think is a way better one. The 14 teams in the lottery, there is no draft anymore. It's free agency. and you only get a certain amount of salary based on where you ended. So if you ended worse in the league, you get the most salary. And let's say it's the first 5 picks are equal. So now the 15th pick, they only get a few mil to sign the number 1 overall guy. But the first 5 teams, they all get the same amount. They all get 10 mil. So now it's free agency, so losing doesn't matter as much because it's not a draft. And you want to win to show, hey, come play with us because we have a future. But at the same time, you're like losing at the end of the year doesn't really matter. So you're not going to tank as much. There is no real fix to this because the truth is, how do you get superstars? Through the draft. It's very rare, especially for bad teams, to get a guy to sign in free agency.
Yeah.
So how would you suggest they get it? Like Utah, no one's going there.
Yeah.
So they need to lose.
I agree. The incentive structure is wrong right now. If you want competitive basketball in these months, right? I think it was Ishbia, whatever, the owner of the Suns, he was saying the NFL just ended. There's no sports on right now except the NBA, and no one wants to watch it because all the stars aren't playing.
Right. So my solution, my actual solution, that was an idea. My real solution that I think fixes all the problems that NBA currently has is just change the season to 60 games.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother discussion. I mean,
if you do that, load management doesn't happen anymore because you need guys and they have more rest, they're healthier. If you do that, tanking doesn't happen because every game matters and what's it called? Like because there's less games, there's less tanking availability.
yeah, each game matters more.
Right.
And
And you could start the season 20-20 and like whatever, just fluky 20-20, and now your final 20 games mean something, even if you're not that good. Like in 60 games, you could kind of slip into the playoffs. But the truth is, I don't really have a great solution. And the NBA adding 2 teams is a terrible idea. We're gonna have 2 more teams that are tanking.
I'm actually so glad you brought up the lowering the season because this is like a bone I have to pick with sports leagues with longer seasons. Whatever, MLB does their own thing. It's a whole whatever. It's 160 games. It's crazy. The NBA. Do you just want to admit that you're a loser? You know, the NFL makes twice as much as you. In 2024, the NFL did $23 billion in revenue. The NBA did half that. Okay? The NFL has 16 games. What is this that you need more games to make more money? Obviously, the NFL adds more games to make more. But if you, I don't understand. I mean, there's clearly smarter people than me who are in charge
First
of
of all,
this.
stadiums versus.
I know, but you would sell each ticket would cost more. The TV
I
deals,
think-
people would be more interested. You'd get more viewers, right? Instead of just being like, oh, let's just like have 80 games or whatever, no one wants to watch any of the games because none of our stars are playing. Yeah, if you lower the season, I don't think that necessarily leads to less money. And we see a really, really good example of it leading to way more money.
Right. I mean, the NFL is king for a different reason. Like the sport, the way it's played, it's just different. So I wouldn't say like if the NBA went to 20 games, I don't think it's going to have crazy. I don't think it will blow up. I think people would hate it. It's too short.
If the NBA went to 20 games, those games would be
They'd be
greatest
amazing.
games of basketball.
It'd be amazing, but it would be too short. I think 60 is a good number. You drop. My other problem also, by the way, is now all these all-time records they're gone.
If you lower the games,
you can't catch up to any of them.
It is what it is.
And no, it might offend some people. I don't want to live in a world where LeBron's records will never be broken because all the games are 60 now. I don't know. I think my suggestion, you really want to fix the league, is go to 60 to 65 games. Start the season later, so you're not competing with the NFL. Maybe start the season like Christmas, so it's like a little later, or even just start it right after Super Bowl Sunday and play it out. But I would say 60 to 65 games and FIBA rules. I want the game more physical. I think the game's gotten soft and it's been harder to watch. FIBA rules, more physicality, maybe without the goaltending thing they do there. I don't get that. But like FIBA reffing in terms of hand checking, like let it get more physical.
I'm good with any rules, actually. You know, if we could just call anything, call moving picks, call travels, any of that stuff, if we want to just start calling it, that's totally fine with me.
I will say, I mean, you know, as someone who watches NBA, there's a lot of people complaining who don't really watch anymore. Like if you watch, there's a lot of good basketball being played and there's a lot of exciting teams. I agree with the load managing and the draft picks. I don't think there's any clean answer. And I saw a great like meme. It was like, any problem comes up, Adam Silver, let's play a tournament. So like issues, let's do midseason tournament. Issues, let's do all-star game tournament. Issues, the all-star, let's play a tournament. Issues with draft, let's make a tournament for the lowest 6 teams. So I don't believe that's the answer. I wish there was a better answer. I think maybe opening it up could be an answer because there's no draft anymore and it's just salary cap, and certain teams won't have salary space, so you can't sign guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like you flip the.
I don't like that because it's a little confusing to me. And also, you're rewarding a team that, let's say, started the year poorly because of injuries, and now they're better, and now they get the number 1 pick. I don't like that.
I think if you look into it, you'll see it's actually
What's stopping a team that stinks for the first half of the year through All-Star break to make a trade for a superstar and only start playing him for final 20 games?
Well, no team thinks they're going to stink going into the year.
No, but if you know, hey, we're not a good team this year, we're going to lose a bunch of games early, let's trade for a guy and we'll start playing him right after the All-Star break and we'll win the next 20 games. We'll get the first pick.
It's that easy to win games in a league where everyone's actually competing at the end of the year?
No, that's a good point. But I just think
also, yeah, teams who are bad are supposed to get the first pick. We just don't want them to be losing intentionally. We want to see our star players playing.
So let's say the Utah Jazz, who or even better is like the Bulls or one of these teams they're just terrible. Okay, who's the team this year that's just awful?
Take the Jazz. I like the Jazz as an example.
Okay, the Jazz are awful, right? And I know they've sat guys, but they're not good. Let's say, right, they're losing throughout the year because they stink.
Yeah.
Final 20 games of the season, there are teams that are better than them and beating them. So now you're getting the worst team is not going to get the best pick. How are they going to improve?
Well, because now Markkanen's playing in the 4th quarter.
Let's say,
Jaren Jackson.
But let's say they're playing and they're still losing because they're the worst team in the league. What you're doing is punishing the worst teams, which I get it, they should be trying. But if you're the worst team and you're losing because you're bad, and teams that are beating you because they're better than you should get the pick.
They're not going to get the pick though, because teams that are beating you that are better than you are still going to make the playoffs.
No, like there's levels, right? So there could be
they should be able to compete with those teams. Whatever. We're getting going in circles. I don't know. I personally I find the NBA regular season to be borderline unwatchable, and I would like them to make some sort of effort to make games meaningful, especially in this stretch, right? It's post Super Bowl. There's 20 games left to the season, and
so
every night no one wants to watch these games.
You're right about that.
Just do something. I don't care. Throw something at the wall. See what sticks.
Right.
Like to me, it's just try something.
Yeah. So I think the lower in the games, the amount of games you play, I think would solve a lot of problems.
It's never going to happen because they think it's a money thing.
It is a money thing and it's a historic thing. But if you were really serious, like, hey, what are we going to do to fix it? That would be the only one that I think can fix most problems.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to The Trade Rewind. You can find us on social media at The Trade Rewind on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to the show, the best thing you can do for us is to leave us a 5-star on Spotify and share the episode.